Afghanistan is once again in mourning. A powerful earthquake devastated large parts of Nangarhar and Kunar provinces, killing more than 1,400 people and leaving over 3,100 injured. What unfolded in a matter of minutes has exposed more than just the dangers of Afghanistan's geography. It has underscored the country's deep humanitarian crisis under Taliban rule, its fragile healthcare system, and the impact of global sanctions that have cut the nation off from meaningful international support. On August 31st, just before midnight, a 6.0 magnitude tremor struck near Jalalabad in eastern Nangarhar province. At a shallow depth of 8 kilometers, the earthquake sent violent shock waves through surrounding districts and into neighboring Kunar.
زه یم د غزې آباد اوسیدونکی بیګا د شپې 12 بجو نه دلته زلزله په موږ باندې شوې ده او د بیګا راسته موږ لګی په نه شو دغه د مړو پر ایستلو هم لګی او مطلب موږ په مشکل کې ساري لکه اوسه پورې زموږ مړي اوس هم د خاورو لاندې دي پوه شولې نو ډېر مشکلاتو سره زموږ مخه ده او حکومت نه موږ هم دا خاص غواړو چې زموږ سره زر ته زر زموږ دا مړي دي د موږ خاورو نه راوباسي دغه مشکل زموږ دی حل کړي.
In seconds, entire villages built of mud brick and timber collapsed, crushing families inside. Aftershocks, one as strong as 4.7, followed, spreading panic and triggering landslides that cut off remote mountain roads. More than 1,400 people have lost their lives so far, with officials warning the toll could rise further. Nearly 3,000 others were left injured when the powerful quake struck eastern Afghanistan.
نو 12 بجې وی بیګا چې زلزله شروع شو او ډیر سخت تجربه وکړ حتی چې زما خپل پرې پندای باندې یو ستنم راولیدل د کور خو زه الله رحم وکړ د کور نه ووتلو خو زمنګ د کور طبعا خپل 15 وريري او یو راره او یو بل د بل ورزوی نو و شهیدان زموږ د خپل شخصي کور وشول او یو بل ترور شهید شو او نور چې د زخمیانو او د مړو انتها بس ورکه ده بس هر کور کې دغه حال هر کور.
In village after village, survivors have been left to bury their families with their own hands. Some have lost entire generations in a single night. Hospitals closest to the epicenter, including Jalalabad's main facility, are overwhelmed and unable to cope with the scale of casualties.
دا وراره مې پکې بچی دی او یوه کټه ده او درې بچي دي دا شهیدان شوي دي یو رندار مې اپله شهیده شو د سره د بچو یو وراره مې او یو وراره مې او دوه ورېرې مې نورې شهیدان شوي دي کور په همدې حالات دی مړی نه هغه ځای کې پروت دی ورېره مې نارته پرته سره د بچو تا چې په خپله ورشه وبینې په خپله به یې وینې وروره نو دا حالاتو د الله امر نو ځکه چې راغی په موږ وشو نو.
Afghanistan sits on one of the world's most active seismic zones, where the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates collide. Shallow earthquakes like this one retain their power as they reach the surface, causing maximum destruction. Weak construction, mud, timber and unreinforced concrete has made Afghan homes especially vulnerable. Landslides triggered by the quake have flattened mountain villages, and rivers blocked by debris now pose risks of flooding. This is not new. Herat and Paktika province saw deadly quakes in 2022 and 2023 that killed more than 2,000 people combined. Afghanistan remains trapped in a cycle where nature's fury repeatedly collides with man-made fragility. The earthquake's aftermath has exposed the limits of the Taliban's ability to govern. Since their return to power in 2021, Afghanistan's economy has collapsed. More than 23 million Afghans now depend on humanitarian aid, with 80% of the country's budget once funded by international donors, nearly all of which has been suspended. Public healthcare is in ruins. Sanctions and frozen financial assets abroad mean the de facto government has little capacity to respond. Aid is trickling in, but nowhere near enough. Survivors describe rescuers digging with bare hands, while Taliban officials drop commandos by helicopters into mountain areas where even landing is impossible. The United Nations has called the disaster a humanitarian emergency.
Turning to Afghanistan, you will have also seen over the weekend we issued a statement which the Secretary General said he is deeply saddened by the devastating loss of life caused by the Sunday's earthquake in the eastern Nangarhar province in Afghanistan. He expressed his solidarity with the people of Afghanistan, extended his sincere condolences to the families and victims, and wished a speedy recovery to those injured. He also said the UN in Afghanistan will spare no efforts to assist people, but noted that current humanitarian funding is insufficient to address the needs. He called for additional resources to be urgently dispatched to respond to the tragedy and crisis at hand. On the ground, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that preliminary reports from the de facto authorities now indicate at least 1,400 people have been killed and more than 3,100 injured. Casualty figures are expected to rise further as search and rescue teams reach affected areas. We have dispatched at least 25 assessment teams to the region to assess the situation. We're already supporting the response by deploying critical items to areas that can be reached.
India has stepped in quickly, sending 1,000 family tents to Kabul and 15 tons of food to Kunar province, with more shipments planned. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar expressed condolences to his Afghan counterpart, promising New Delhi's continued support. But geopolitics casts a long shadow. While India and a handful of countries provide aid, most foreign donations remain suspended. Western sanctions designed to pressure the Taliban are instead starving ordinary Afghans of relief during disasters. This dilemma is once again being debated as the world sees thousands of civilians in urgent need.
نن شپه دا حادثه وشو 12 بجې او دا کور زما د ورور دی چې مردل خان نومیږي دې کې 2 بچیان شهیدان شو او خپل هم زخمی دی او ماشومان مطلب زنانه هم دلته زخمی شو او بس دا یو ناڅاپي حادثه و ټول ته ولسونو باندې دا وشو